Artificial Sun, Chapter 13. Grunner sucked in a breath as he stood outside Alaria's house, ready to say his goodbyes. Alaria looked at Grunner, her expression unreadable in the dim afternoon light.
Tell Shemmai I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye.
Grunner's voice was soft and somber. Alaria nodded softly, a heaviness in her chest. She had grown attached to Grunner and felt safe with him there. However disappointed she may have felt, she had always known that Grunner wasn't going to stay with them forever.
She'll be sad, of course, but I'll handle her. Don't worry.
Alaria smiled softly. She studied his face, every crevice and scar that proved his bravery and strength, though she took care of him long enough to know that most of his battle scars were internal. She swallowed the lump in her throat and further forced her smile.
It was a pleasure caring for you.
Grunner tried to talk, but the words lodged in his throat. He didn't realize saying goodbye would be this difficult. He had loved staying with them. He was treated kindly after weeks of constant torture. For once, he didn't feel like he needed to fight to survive. He felt safe with them, just as how they felt safe with him. His heartbeat quickened as he noticed the sadness in Alaria's usually expressionless face. She smiled softly.
Farewell, Grunner.
She eventually said after a short silence. He nodded his head but didn't move yet.
You'll most likely find her in the East Worm Tavern today.
Alaria gave him a final bit of help, and he smiled gratefully, though it wasn't a smile of joy.
Thank you.
His voice was just above a whisper.
For everything.
Alaria didn't say anything in response, so Grunner turned. He walked a few paces before Alaria called his name again. He turned to face her, and she jogged towards him. When she reached him, her hands quickly cupped the sides of his face as she pulled him in for a swift and sudden kiss. Grunner was stunned for a few seconds, but once he sobered up, he pulled her towards him and responded to the kiss. Alaria pulled away and smiled sadly at him before patting his cheek once.
For luck.
He smiled back at her, sadly and longingly, but he knew that if he stayed for even another minute, it would be harder for him to leave than it already was. So with a heavy heart, he pulled back from her touch and turned to walk away, leaving Alaria and Shemmai behind. Grunner reached the East Worm Tavern not much later. He sat by a table with his head in his hands and a tankard of ale in front of him. He was usually good at doing what was best for his fledglings without a second of hesitation. Now he wasn't so sure. Leaving the woman and child he'd come to care for was harder than he thought it would be. He couldn't help but think that perhaps his fledglings didn't need him anymore. If they had managed to survive north, which he hoped they did, then did they truly still need his help? Perhaps they graduated in their own right, whereas Shemmai was young with stars in her eyes and a world full of vast possibilities. Up until recently, she could barely knock an arrow. Now, because of him, she was one step closer to being the great archer she wanted to be. Swallowing hard, Grunner shunned his thoughts. Everything he'd ever done, he did for them. They needed him, and Althea needed to find out the truth. She was his responsibility, and she had been, since the day he rescued her and Zaria. Grunner was consumed with his thoughts, but his attention was shifted when a young girl ran into the tavern, her face streaked with tears. He sat upright and furrowed his brows at the sight of her. There she was, Althea's twin sister, They looked almost identical, if not for Zaria's long hair, which was different from Althea's own, which was short. He carefully watched her as she frantically called out,
"Somebody please help me! He's harassing me!"
She was a beautiful young woman, so the men in the tavern rose almost immediately to rush to her aid, while Grunner remained seated at his table. One man in particular neared her and asked,
"What's wrong?"
She practically threw herself into his arms, clinging tightly onto him. Nobody noticed how her hand inched closer to his pockets, subtly feeling them.
"There was a man in the village. He started to chase me and
She purposefully let out a wail.
I'm so afraid."
Grunner raised a brow as she stealthily pulled out a sack from one of his pockets.
"Don't worry, little angel. You're safe now."
Suddenly, a man looking to be about Zaria's age stormed into the tavern.
"There you are."
He neared Zaria, but another man stood up from his table and squared up to the boy.
"Who do you think you are?"
The new man bellowed, pointing a finger at the young boy's chest. The boy looked fearful as he held his hands out on either side of him.
"Apologies. I must be in the wrong tavern."
He sheepishly stepped back and accidentally bumped into a nearby table. Grunner watched his hand enclose around a few gold coins that were next to a tankard of ale as he pretended to steady himself. The table belonged to the man who had pointed at him. As the boy turned to walk out of the tavern, a coin slipped out of his hand and landed onto the floor with a clink. There was a tense few seconds of silence before the men realized what was happening. The man whose gold coin it was became so angry that he turned red in the face, but before he could say anything, Zaria interrupted. Her expression was no longer one of distress, but rather one of annoyance.
"Seven hells, Addom!"
She scolded the boy before she elbowed the man who was holding her. He doubled over, but before he could respond, she grabbed an empty tankard from a nearby table and knocked him across the face with it. Before anyone could register what was happening, she grabbed Addom's hand and sprinted out of the tavern.
"Stop! Thieves!"
The man on the floor yelled, and the entire tavern was instantly in an uproar. Every man who witnessed the con took off after them. Grunner sighed to himself as he stood up. He pulled a few coins out of his back pocket, coins Alaria gave him as a parting gift, before he placed it down next to his untouched tankard of ale to pay for it. He followed after the crowd, but they were just as bewildered as him. Zaria and Addom were nowhere to be found. After a while, the search party gave up and retreated back into the tavern, wasting no further time on thieving imps. Grunner melted into the shadows instead. Zaria and her friend couldn't have gotten far. They disappeared far too quickly, and Grunner could sense them, so he willed them to step out of their hiding spots. They emerged from a pile of hay at the back of an idle wagon. Zaria shook some hay out of her hair before she slapped Addom across the chest with her hand.
"Imbecile! We could have escaped undetected if you didn't drop that coin."
She scolded him as she climbed off the wagon, followed by the russet-haired boy.
"Sorry, I'm not an excellent thief like Zaria the Great."
Addom responded with a snort as he dusted himself off.
"Don't call me that."
Zaria sneered, though she didn't sound too upset.
"I used that name one time and we were supposed to be magicians, remember?"
With a raised brow, Addom said,
"You were a magician. I was just the assistant."
He thrust his chin towards her, and he asked,
"How much did we get today?"
As Zaria pulled the sack of gold from her pocket, Grunner emerged from the shadows and walked towards them.
It caused quite a stir back there.
He said, and Zaria whipped around quickly, holding the sack of gold tightly, while her other hand hovered over the hilt of the dagger tucked in her side. Addom just let out a gasp and seemed to be frozen in place.
Who are you?
Zaria asked, her voice like venom.
Bystander to your little con.
He said. He wasn't sure how he was going to bring up Althea or the entirety of the situation, so he was stalling.
Well, if it's gold you want, go find your own.
Her knuckles turned white due to how tightly she was holding the sack of gold.
I don't want your gold,
Grunner said.
Then why can't you just leave us be?
Addom's voice was slightly shaky. He had every right to be afraid. In Asgarok, they dealt very roughly with thieves. Grunner ignored him and turned his face to Zaria.
I need to speak of you.
His eyes flickered to Addom. While the boy was skittish, Grunner wasn't sure how much he could trust him. He looked back at Zaria and said,
Alone.
Anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of my brother.
Zaria lowered her hand and tucked the gold into her pocket as she stepped closer to Addom. Grunner internally sighed at the girl's stubbornness, but he didn't have time to waste by arguing with her.
Very well. My name is Grunner. I'm from Edogein.
He lowered his voice in case someone could hear him. Zaria furrowed her brows.
Edogein? That fancy place for people with powers?
She asked. Her eyes flicked to Addom before she looked at Grunner again, clearly nervous. She turned to walk off.
We don't mingle with such kind. Let's go, Addom.
I was a mentor to your sister.
Grunner found himself saying, and Zaria's heels dug into the ground as she halted. She turned so that she was facing him again and narrowed her eyes skeptically.
I don't have a sister,
she told him.
You do.
Grunner said with a resigned sigh.
A twin sister, Althea. She was one of my fledglings.
Zaria studied Grunner's eyes to see if he was lying. When he sensed her distrust, he continued.
I was friends of your parents. I couldn't save them. But I could save you too. I raised Althea in Edogein and sent you here to live with my friend, Corfax, and his wife.
A flicker of recognition crossed Zaria's face. With a fallen expression, Zaria said,
Corfax died. A long time ago. So did his wife.
Grunner's breath hitched in his throat, sorrow filling him at the death of yet another one of his friends.
How?
He asked, softer and less sure than usual.
They were killed.
Zaria said before her eyes hardened.
By order of the Queen.
And you escaped?
Grunner phrased it as a statement, but Zaria nodded as if it were a question. Her nod was small and she looked at the ground when she did it.
I'm good at hiding,
she said before looking at Grunner again. A look of distrust swept across her features, and she took a step back, as if she had been slapped.
Edogein is loyal to the Queen. You're her allies.
She held the hilt of her blade with the tips of her fingers, but she didn't unsheath it.
They are,
Grunner said, unafraid. Zaria was scared. She was young and confused, and she had every reason to distrust him.
I'm branded a traitor,
Grunner explained.
I nearly escaped a trial by killing my captor.
Why?
Zaria still sounded like she didn't believe him.
They wanted your sister dead, and I helped her escape.
Why did they want her dead?
Zaria's fingers left her dagger, and her hand cradled her hip as she stared at him with intrigue.
Same reason they want you dead. Same reason they killed Corfax.
It was difficult for Grunner to say his name, knowing the injustice he was dealt.
You're both a threat to the crown.
How?
Zaria's anger overpowered her. How dare this man walk into her life, out of nowhere, and dump this news on her? She was fine for 20 years. Her life was fine.
Best not to talk about it here.
Grunner lowered his voice as he eyed his surroundings.
Walls have ears.
If what you're saying is true,
Zaria said, even though she knew in her heart he wasn't lying.
then why are you here all of a sudden? Why didn't you come and find me years ago?
Grunner shook his head.
It was too dangerous. I couldn't let you or Althea know anything, or else you would both been dead.
Addom is my family.
Zaria stepped closer to Addom and took his hand.
I've been doing fine without my sister. I don't want to know her or any of you.
She squeezed Addom's hand tighter, and he looked down at her. The task proved more difficult than Grunner imagined, but he couldn't give up. Too much was at stake.
I admire you've been holding your own. And you seem to be doing quite a good job at it, but you're worth more than this. You're not destined for a life of thievery, and right now, your sister is north, fending for herself. It's only a matter of time before the Queen sends an army to retrieve her, and she can't stop them alone. She needs you.
Grunner explained, his voice calm, but his heart hammering in his chest.
Why would the Queen send an army to find one girl?
Zaria asked in confusion.
And why does she need my help? None of this is making sense.
Grunner wanted to speak, but Addom beat him to it.
Zaria.
He spoke softly, and she looked up to him, her features distorted in confusion and anger.
This man is right. You're not destined for this life. You've always known that you were worth more than this, and that your destiny wasn't here.
Zaria frantically shook her head, overwhelmed. Corfax told her that her family died when she was little, and that she lost them all. The thought that there was someone just like her that experienced the same losses seemed unrealistic and too good to be true, as if it were a sick prank.
Asgarak is my home.
She faced Grunner with determination.
I'm sorry, I truly am, but I'm safe here. I always have been. I'm not throwing away the life I've built here just so I can help a sister I don't even know.
She turned to walk away, and Grunner spoke one last time.
What about Corfax? Going up against the Queen would be justice for him. Justice for your parents. And justice against anyone who suffered from her tyranny. Don't you want to put an end to it all?
Zaria paused and took a deep breath. She would be lying if she said Grunner's words didn't affect her. But then she released the breath she inhaled and, without turning, said,
Addom is my family now. I won't endanger him.
She walked off without another word, leaving Grunner feeling helpless. Queen Arielle examined her physique in the foggy mirror in her bedchamber. Her velvet dress was patterned finely, but aside from that, it hid the slight bloat in her stomach. She was thankful for this. If the kingdom had to know that she carried a child in her belly, the throne would be vulnerable. The people would never allow a bastard to be her successor. There would be uprisings and riots and wars if they knew.
Don't look so gloomy, Your Grace.
It was a member of the Queen's Guard who spoke from his comfortable position in Arielle's bed. His naked frame was half covered by the silks of her bed, though it likely couldn't hide the shame in her chest. He didn't know of the child she was carrying. It was too soon for him to see, and too difficult for her to tell him. She turned to him and folded her hands in front of her, smiling softly.
Forgive me, Rowan. I'm anticipating Edgerton's arrival. It was meant to be a fortnight ago, yet I've received no word from them.
The handsome blonde knight sighed and stood up, revealing himself in all his glory. He walked to Arielle and wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. She looked at them in the mirror and refrained from frowning. It would be a disgrace for a queen to be found bedding a knight, and she couldn't marry him to secure her bastard's future. Rowan began kissing her neck as his grip tightened on her waist.
You worry too much.
He mumbled in between kisses. Arielle pulled away from him, and he sighed at the loss of her touch.
Put on some clothes. I have to take Orion for a ride.
She said in a clipped manner. She walked to her bedside and picked up his discarded clothes before throwing it at him. He caught the clothes with one hand and grinned cheekily, though his eyes held irritation.
I swear you ride that thing more than me lately,
he said as he pulled his shirt over his head. Arielle spared him a glare.
You're still addressing your queen.
She narrowed her eyes. Rowan chuckled softly as he finished dressing. When he caught the look on Arielle's face, he deflated ever so slightly.
I suppose I'll see you tonight then?
Rowan walked towards Arielle. She didn't want to push him away. As absurd as it was, she loved him. But she couldn't jeopardize her position as queen, now that she was with child. Just as Rowan was about to reach her, she turned and walked towards her balcony. She pulled open the doors so that the gentle southern breeze brushed back her fiery locks. Rowan stood frustrated and confused before he finally asked,
What's the matter with you lately?
His tone was accusatory. Their arrangement had always been easy and mutually beneficial, but as of late, Arielle didn't crave his touch as much as she once had. Arielle faced him with an expression of stone, though her eyes were soft and sad.
I must wed soon.
Rowan released a breath, and his shoulders slumped forward. Of all the answers, he hadn't expected that one. Arielle was always an independent ruler. She never bothered with marriage proposals or potential suitors. She didn't want to share the throne with anyone, so what changed?
Why?
Rowan asked, his face painted with hurt and betrayal. His previously light-hearted demeanor fell at the thought of Arielle marrying some pompous aristocrat and sharing her bed with him.
The threat.
Arielle lied, turning her head away from him, choosing to look outside instead. She couldn't look Rowan in the eyes and lie, even if she wanted to.
If it's real, I'll need to secure the crown.
But it's already secure with you as ruler,
Rowan pointed out, seemingly flustered.
How long will the people follow a queen who has no husband and no heir?
She turned her head to him now, as the breeze from outside brushed the stubborn strands of hair that had escaped her complex braids out of her face.
If Edogen's traitor holds power, even the slightest leverage over me, then how long will it take cities to rise up against me?
She shook her head, and her hands folded in front of her as she turned away.
No, I must marry.
Rowan's hurt was raw, and Arielle could barely stand it. He stepped forward once, and with a small voice said,
You're crazy.
Leave me.
Arielle sharply cut him off. She hated when someone close to her called her by that stupid title. Rowan didn't fret or argue. Instead, he exited her bedchambers and closed the door so roughly that the sound ricocheted off her walls. Only when Arielle was sure he was gone did demeanor slip. Her shoulders hunched forward, and her hands cradled her barely bloated stomach. Small sobs escaped her lips. but she collected herself not much later. Taking in a deep breath, Arielle straightened up, dried her tears, and exited her bedchamber. As she began her trek to the garden, the heels of her slippers clicked loudly against the stone floors, but she soon realized that she wasn't alone.
Your Grace.
Cedric called from behind her. She halted and turned to him with a false smile on her lips.
Cedric?
She greeted when Cedric reached her. She turned and began walking side by side with the diplomat, exchanging curt smiles to those who passed her.
Any word from Edigen?
Indeed, Your Grace. We received a letter from them this morning.
He seemed reluctant to relay the news.
When will they arrive?
Arielle asked, sensing his hesitation.
Their traitor has escaped,
he said.
They no longer harbor him.
A flicker of irritation crossed Arielle's features before it was gone.
How did that happen?
Apparently it happened near Asgarak. The traitor killed the man driving the carriage and stole a horse. According to the report from Edigen, the traitor is in the village.
Did they at least explain what he is guilty of?
Arielle's voice was calm, though she was somewhat nervous. Had this been a month ago, she would have allowed the traitor to escape and left it at that. But now she had another life to think of. If the crown was in danger, so was her unborn child, and she wouldn't let that happen.
Treason, Your Grace.
Cedric said with a soft sigh.
Because of him.
He paused and swallowed before saying,
The girls live.
Those 3 words hit Arielle like a shock, and she halted in her stride. Cedric didn't have to elaborate for her to know who he was speaking of. Arielle stopped walking, so Cedric followed suit.
I thought the one was slain with her parents and the other killed in Asgarak.
Arielle narrowed her eyes, but there was a shakiness in her voice, an accusation in her tone.
According to Hellbore, the traitor brought one of the girls to Edigen as a baby. Edigen was not aware of her identity.
Cedric chose to look at Arielle's shoulder instead of her eyes when he said this.
And the other escaped in Asgarak. She was thought to be dead, but one of our allies confirmed that she lives. They say she is as wild as a beast.
Where are they now?
Arielle asked quickly, and the clicking of her slippers echoed off the walls again as she walked. Cedric followed after her.
It is suspected that the Edigen girl fled to the north.
This statement caused Arielle to almost flinch. She knew exactly what was north, and she knew that if the girls found it, she could easily be dethroned.
And the traitor is in Asgarak with the other girl.
After careful thinking, Arielle looked at Cedric and said,
Prepare the Queen's Guard and ready the horses. We'll be paying a visit to Asgarak.
Would I need to saddle a horse for you as well, Your Grace?
A huff of air escaped Arielle's nose in a cold chuckle, as if Cedric asked a silly question.
No, don't bother with that.
Instead of slowing her stride, she increased her pace.
You'll manage my affairs while I'm gone?
Cedric furrowed his brows.
If you so require, Your Grace, but would you not prefer it if I join you?
Arielle laughed fondly as she continued walking.
Oh no, Cedric. We don't require a diplomat on this visit.
Artificial Sun, Chapter 13.